Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome in. It is NFC South night. First of all, I am starting with not that, of course. It plays right into something else, but I had some copyright issues on my last issue with my intro song, so trying out a few different things there. We'll see if that one makes the cut, but I got a few things I'm gonna try out. See what you guys think. Let me know in the comments what you think. But what's up, guys? Welcome. It's Thursday night, which means it is live division preview time. Tonight we're doing the NFC South, as I mentioned. Actually, now that I'm realizing it, the Carolina Panthers had so much going on that you can't even fully see everything that I have on this screen here. So, what's up, guys? So, in addition to the new music that I had trying out tonight, I should mention something that I didn't plan. I didn't really plan on tonight, but right off the bat, I was about to get started, getting prepped for this show, and heading to the bathroom, and I thought it kind of feels like I had to puke, and 5 seconds later, I was like, no, I think I really have to puke. And that's what I did. So, a little puke and rally stream for you guys. I don't know if it was something I ate. I had burgers, corn on the cob, hot dog. Like, not like, classic summer meal. Something I have fairly regularly in the summer. So, it's not like an every night thing for me, burgers and hot dog. But, it's summertime. So, I don't know. I don't know what could have caused that, but yeah, I have a bucket. I have a bucket. Let me show you. It's actually kind of Carolina colors, as you can might be able to see. I got a Carolina blue bucket, just in case. So this could be a really interesting stream if I start puking again. But yeah, just randomly 5 minutes before I wanted to started puking. Feel fine now. I think. We'll see. I felt fine 5 minutes before I puked, so hey, we'll see. I don't plan on it, but I'm prepared for it. I got a bucket. We'll see what happens. I'm going to power through it. I'm puking and rallying. So, again, we're talking NFC South tonight. If you haven't seen one of these streams yet, we're talking big picture. I'm not really going into rankings too much. I've done projections for all of these teams as I will go through here. You'll see Atlanta, Carolina. New Orleans is like a little incomplete with the quarterback situation. I could tell you what I think about those guys, and I'm going to do that, but I don't really have projections just yet because I'm not convinced Jameis Winston wins this job, and even if he does, I don't think he holds it. So I don't think he's somebody you're thinking about for fantasy anyway. But we will show you. I will show you a little bit of Jameis Winston tonight. So, and there are the Bucks, and I will go through all of my projections. This is kind of just a baseline to get me started. Again, I have done AFC East and NFC East, and I will go through all the divisions this summer, and then I will get deeper into each position, my rankings, all that stuff, get you more prepared for drafts. I don't think anybody's really doing fantasy drafts quite yet. Maybe you are, but it is mid-June. I think this is a good time to kind of go over some big picture stuff. What I think about these teams, changes that happened, what I'm kind of expecting from some of these players, and then as we get closer to the season, again, that's when I'll be talking draft prep, in about a month from now. So be getting into all that stuff fairly soon. But if you have any questions, let me know. If you're new here, appreciate subs. As always, it's free to do. Just click a button down there. Click like on this video. It helps me out. And it only takes 2 seconds. So appreciate you guys doing that. Again, if you got questions, I already have kind of planned on what I want to talk about tonight. Again, so I talked about film. I'm going to show a little Jameis Winston with the Saints. It's pretty quick. He didn't really start a game. He got into it for a little bit. I don't know how much we can take from that. But I'm also going to show you some Mike Davis from last year. Dan, Kiwi, what's up, man? Yeah, I was just saying you can't even see everything that... I spelled Boye wrong, too. Isn't it Boye? I think that's what it is. I don't know where I got that spelling from. Yeah, you can't even... My head is cutting off Mike Davis and Chris Manhertz, but you know what? Mike Davis is maybe the bigger one to talk about. Let's just do a live flipperoo here. So you don't really need to see Cam Irving. But, I mean, that's, that could be a loss. We'll see what happens. But anyway, so I'll go through all 4 of these teams. I got some film from Mike Davis. I'll show you. I'm going to do a combination Sam Darnold, Robby Anderson little film review because Sam Darnold and Robby Anderson used to play together. So if I'm looking at what Sam Darnold might bring to this team, what Robby Anderson might be able to do with Carolina with Sam Darnold, why not look at what he did 2 years ago with Sam Darnold? So I looked at all of Sam Darnold's attempts to Robby Anderson in 2019. I will show you some of those, not all of them. But I think that'll give you a sense of how I feel about the Carolina passing offense and Robby Anderson. Then I'll show you a little bit of Jameis Winston from the Saints last year. And the Bucs, you see the key losses. There ain't one. And for the key additions, we got Giovanni Bernard as the big addition to this offense. So I struggled to put together anything for that section. So the Bucs are the Bucs. I think we kind of know what we're getting from most of those players. So I don't really have any film ready to go for those guys. I thought about doing maybe Ronald Jones or something like that, but nobody knew. I feel like you should have a good sense of what's going on with the Bucs at this point. And they played 20 games last year because of the playoffs. So we have a 20-game sample size of Tom Brady with the Bucs to work off of for this season. So why don't we get into it with a little Atlanta Falcons? I'll just preview again some of the key additions and losses for them. I will go into my projections, which I'll get into in a second. And then a little Mike Davis film. So I talked about him. Mike Davis coming from Carolina to Atlanta. Why does it say there must be some Toddy Gurley? Unless I was just really tired. Toddy Gurley. I don't know if everybody's. I've never heard Toddy Gurley before, but hey, we'll go with that now. I feel like that's going to stick now. So again, if you got any questions on this team, any of these teams, anything in general, let me know in chat. But for now, I'm going to be going through the Atlanta Falcons. So they also add Cordarrelle Patterson, who might work in at running back as we saw last season. In the draft, obviously the big one was Kyle Pitts. So we'll see what happens. With Kyle Pitts, and again, I have it highlighted here. Julio Jones, Toddy Gurley, that's a big one, but Julio Jones is a big loss. That's really going to shake things up. We'll see how Matt Ryan does without Julio Jones for the first time in a long time. They lost Alex Mack too, so Keanu Neal on the defense. So not a ton of changes, but some of the changes are significant, I think, for Atlanta. So I'll get into them now. You're also bringing over new head coach coming over from the Titans, and I had NBA rigged. So you kind of, Dan, you're kind of hitting the nail on the head, and I think there is definitely something to that in terms of. I do expect. You'll see. I only projected 2 wide receivers here. I did not do Zacchaeus. I didn't really do Cordarrelle Patterson. I thought about doing Hayden Hurst, but honestly, I just don't think he's going to be as relevant in fantasy, so I didn't really work out the projections. But he's certainly worth talking about because I do expect a lot of two tight ends. Because Hayden Hurst is he's a solid player. I don't think he's anything that really blows you away, but yeah, I think he's solid. So I think there is every reason to expect without Julio Jones there, with Kyle Pitts being the other tight end. He's a rookie, but I think you got to expect a lot of things from him. Top 5 pick in the draft. If you've seen any of the film, and I think before I really saw much, and my team is the Eagles. When I started to see some things about him being thrown around there to the Eagles at one point when they were looking like they were going to be picking top 5, I thought, or they were 6. They moved from 6 to 12. Even at 6, it was looking like good chance Kyle Pitts could be there for them. Maybe they'll take him. Maybe they won't. And I saw tight end, and I thought, you know what? The Eagles have Dallas Goedert. They don't really need a tight end. This guy doesn't play just like your traditional tight end. This guy is like a Darren Waller. He's awesome. He plays lined up as a traditional tight end a decent amount, but he'll also line up a wide receiver. He'll line up all over the place. He's a freak. If the guy can adjust quickly to the NFL, which not a lot of tight ends have done. I think it was in the past 10 years only Evan Ingram and Rob Gronkowski having top 10 tight end seasons in fantasy at tight end. So you'll get Kyle Pitts. The history is against him, but are there a lot of talents that come out like him? Not really. I for every player, I do an upside and a safety score because I think once we get into being close to draft time, I think you want to win your league. You want upside. So I try to think scale 1 to 10. What's this guy's upside? 10 being this guy could be the best player at his position. As far as upside goes, I don't think I give many 1s and 2s because I mean it's pretty hard for you to upside. I mean a lot of crazy things could happen in the NFL. So most guys, you're on the really low side if you're like a 5 or a 6 out of 10. So. Yeah, I gave Kyle Pitts a 9, and with a safety of 7, and again he's a freak, but not a lot of tight end. Traditionally it's been a rough position for rookies in fantasy, has been the tight end position, but once they lost Julio Jones, that's when I decided I'm really going to start bumping up the projections for Kyle Pitts. So I have him at 63 catches, 720 yards, 5 touchdowns, which I talked a couple weeks ago about Dallas Goedert on the Eagles, and I think that's around the range when you're starting to look at him around I think he is going to maybe go before this, but some places have him ranked around 6th out of tight ends, and I should probably pull that up really quickly, but when you start to think about how early is too early for Kyle Pitts to be taken at tight end, really the guys that are absolutely going to go before him, I mentioned Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, George Kittle. I think Mark Andrews definitely should, and I think TJ Hawkinson should. Then I think it's a debate, and again, I'll get in more into my position rankings as I get through all these divisions, all these teams. Dallas Goedert, I think, is the line of where I start to think of Kyle Pitts. And if you're just drafted on upside, sure. Take your shot at Kyle Pitts. But if you miss on Kyle Pitts too early, you're missing out at good players at a lot of other positions is the problem. And you're probably not going to take another tight end anytime soon because when you're taking a position where you only start one guy, like quarterback, like tight end, what I do, if I'm taking Mahomes, if I'm taking Josh Allen, I might not even draft another quarterback depending on the league. Same with tight, because I feel like I need to take more shots because I took those positions early. I need to take more shots at running back. I need to take more shots at wide receiver. I'd rather take a flyer on a running back or wide receiver that I might actually end up using more than once in a year. And if you lose Kelce, if you lose Mahomes, you're probably screwed anyway. But you pick up somebody on the waiver wire, or you get somebody at the very, very end of the draft. But point is, if you're taking Kyle Pitts like around 4th or 5th out of tight end, you're probably going to wait a long time until you take another tight end. So you're going to be in a position where you might not even have somebody good to back him up with if maybe he starts out and doesn't look so good. But I have a decent amount of confidence that he could be really good right off the bat. We'll see what happens with Kyle Pitts, but I should be talking about Matt Ryan and Mike Davis as well because again you have the new head coach coming over from the Titans, that system. NBA rigged. We got the fire alarm. It's maybe Matt Ryan, maybe Mike Davis can be on fire. We'll see. So that is not a sound effect. That's outside. So NBA rigged. Somebody who stops in here a decent amount was asking me, is Matt Ryan just not going to throw as much? Is Mike Davis going to be getting the ball a ton now that you have the system from the Titans coming over? And I don't think there's any way for us to really know that at this point. We'll see what happens with beat reporters coming out, what they start talking about. But, you could really only rely on that stuff so much. My thing is Mike Davis is not Derrick Henry. So to expect Mike Davis to suddenly come out and carry the ball 300 times, I don't know about that. I have him in for 235 carries. I think that is a good amount. What did I end up averaging out that to be? I don't know what that is. I think that's probably around 15, 16 carries a game, which is pretty good. There's not really much. Cordero Patterson might get some carries. There's really not much below Mike Davis, which Jeff, another guy who's in here a decent amount earlier in the offseason, was saying he wasn't really a big fan of Mike Davis. Really until they got rid of Julio, because now he's got a chance to catch a lot more passes. Do you make the mistake of saying, well, he's the only guy, so he must be great? We've made that mistake in the past with other running backs who really weren't that good. They just looked like they had the position just because you don't look at the guys below them. And then it turns out, actually, maybe some of the guys below him can play. And maybe the coaches don't really, especially this is, a new offense that he's coming into. He hasn't showed that he's going to, carry the load 15, 16 times a game. Maybe they do work in other guys. But right now, I'm projecting him at 235 attempts, 940 rushing yards, 8 rushing touchdowns, along with 40 catches. I think that was a big thing, and I'll show you this in the film in a little bit. There were times where Mike Davis did a pretty good Christian McCaffrey impression when he was filling in for McCaffrey when he was down for injuries. I think it was his first 3 starts that Mike Davis had 22 catches in those 3 games. Now, he had Teddy Bridgewater, who is known to check the ball down a decent amount, so he had that working for him. He didn't quite carry those numbers through the season, but hey, I have him right now. What's that, about maybe a little less than 3 catches per game? That honestly, the more I think about that might end up coming up some. But Toddy was the main man when he was at the Rams. Yeah, and he was kind of the main guy with the Falcons too. So we got some Ito Smith. We got some. Who else is escaping me that was getting the ball? Point is, Mike Davis, there's a very good chance he leads this backfield. There's nobody even close. So Mike Davis, at this point, I think he's going to be in my top 20 at running back. I think in PPR and standard leagues, I think he'll get enough catches and he'll get enough carries to make him worth it. And I think, as I'll show you in a second, I think he looked pretty good in his time last year. So I talked about Matt Ryan. I teased that a little bit. Does he throw as much? So here's what I have him at. And the beyond the Titans, the new head coach, the question you're probably asking is, how does Julio Jones affect things? That was Dan. That's what you were asking in chat. So the best I could do, really, or at least just as for a start, I looked at the games. Julio Jones missed 7 games last year, and we can combine this with some chat of Calvin Ridley. In those 7 games that Julio Jones missed, because Jared was talking about, I don't know if it was on his stream. I think it was on his stream on Fantasy the Show. If you're not already there, go to fantasytheshow.com. Fantasy football through Madden simulations all year round, free to play. You can win money. It's great. Anyway, we were talking a little bit about some of the fantasy football groups that are on Facebook and some of the ridiculous things that people spout off, and the crazy takes that people have, the overreactions that people have. He said he saw something that basically said, like, Calvin Ridley's going to get all the attention. He can't possibly repeat what he did last year without Julio. Now, if you looked at what Calvin Ridley did in his 7 games without Julio Jones, 760 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's pretty darn good. That is over a 1,600-yard pace if you spread that out. Actually, I should say 1,700-yard pace that with the 17-game season. He's missed some time the last couple of years, so I did put him in for a 15-game projection. Even with 15 games, I have him at 91 catches, 1,350 yards, 7 touchdowns. That is firmly going to put him within the top 10, close to top 5. Upside of 10, I think he does again, if he plays 17 games, if he does what he did last year without Julio Jones, he's around 1,800 yards. 9-10 touchdowns. I don't have him projected for that, but is that his upside? Absolutely. So I have him at a 10 out of 10 upside. He could be the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy. And I have him at a 9 because behind him, I mentioned Kyle Pitts, inexperience. You have Hayden Hurst. You have Russell Gage, who has really never stepped up and proved himself on a consistent basis Really hasn't had much of a chance, honestly, with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. But again, in the time that Julio missed, Russell Gage had some moments. Didn't really do a whole lot. I actually just realized I didn't put in his touchdowns. At this point, I don't know, 3 or 4. I'll say 3, if my keyboard will want to work. So I'll look closer at that. These projections are always changing, but I gave Russell Gage an upside of 7, safety of 5. I don't think there's anything safe about Russell Gage. Again, he really will this offense throw the ball enough that Calvin Ridley and somebody else in the receiving court. NBA Rigged, what's up? I'm talking about the Falcons. You were just talking about this the other night. I was talking about, or I think earlier today we were actually talking about it a little bit. So, yeah, Russell Gage upside 7 out of 10. I think I did have a late start. I talked about this at the beginning of the stream. I started this stream a little puke and rally. I was about to start the stream, felt like I had to puke. Turns out I did. And I puked, and now I'm good. I think I have a bucket here, just in case I'm not ready. But, yeah, I think Thursdays are also tough for me. I want to start at 7. 7:30 ends up being a little bit more realistic. But appreciate you stopping in. So, Russell Gage, I don't know. And it's going to take a Calvin Ridley injury for him to really have the upside to be usable every week in fantasy, I think. So I'm at 730 yards. Again, I'll look at the touchdowns a little closer, but that's good. I think he's draftable. I think he's certainly draftable. But is he that? Does he have that upside that some of the other guys are going to be going at the end of drafts? Does he have that kind of upside to really break into your top 2 or 3 wide receivers? I don't know that he does. We'll see what happens. So, yeah. Talking fantasy football, hopefully that will help me to feel better. I'd rather talk fantasy football than I would basketball right now. We'll leave it at that. So I've been teasing Matt Ryan, and the reason I haven't really dug into Matt Ryan too much is because I don't know that Matt Ryan's really somebody that I'm going to be targeting. Maybe in a 12-team league, if you're drafting 2 quarterbacks, at the end of your draft, again, I'll talk about rankings a little bit more. I will say, I talked about the games that Julio Jones missed last year. Julio Jones did miss the last 4 games of the season. 2 of those games were against the Bucs. That's a really solid defense. I was impressed to see Matt Ryan in those 4 games, 9-3 touchdown to interceptions, about 70% completion rate. Those games again. 2 of those games were against a really good Tampa Bay defense without Julio Jones. So, is there potential for Matt Ryan to be a QB1, not the QB1, like a top 10 or 12 quarterback? I guess so, and that's why I have him as an upside of 8, but I don't think he's safe at all. Matt Ryan over the years has been very inconsistent, so Matty Ice has been hot and cold, you could say. Hey, how about that one? No one's ever made that joke before. So, he really doesn't give you much rushing. I have him in for 25 touchdowns in 17 games. That's not a lot. I don't know how good this offense really will be without Julio Jones, with Calvin Ridley being the main option here. But, hey, we'll see. So, point is, Matt Ryan probably not making my top 12 of quarterbacks. If he does, he might be 12th. And I just think there might be some other guys that might have a little bit more upside than I might be favoring at that point in the draft. I won't be surprised if Matt Ryan's top 12 quarterback. But, hey, again, yeah, thank you for the compliment on what Matt Ryan was able to already show you without Julio Jones against a good defense. So, right now, I mentioned I teased the film a little bit, which is what I'm going to get into now. I talked about Mike Davis a little bit ago. I'm going to show you what I liked about Mike Davis, and the video is already playing, which I didn't really want to do. So, there's a decent amount that I liked from Davis. So, again, he was very good as a pass catcher. Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit of a regression, but again, that's a baseline for me to like compare other guys, and then from there, I talked about upside and safety. Where Matt Ryan's going, based on my projections, I'm gonna have him outside my top 10 or top 12. At that point, I'm looking for upside. Safety, sure. I don't want somebody with a 9 or 8 upside that has like a 3 safety over a guy with, say, an 8 to 7 upside with like a 6 or 7 safety. So that point, I'm probably going to lean towards the guy who's a little more safe. But later in the drafts, if I'm waiting at a position, I'm going to take a shot, because if it doesn't work out, you know, I can pick somebody up who's probably similar to him on the waiver wire. Somebody else who breaks out, like we saw with Justin Herbert, like we saw with some of the rushing quarterbacks, like Taysom Hill came on, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow stepped up at one point. So Mike Davis in the last 6 games, I have week 14. I'm going to show you some of that, but I have some plays picked out already that I will show you. So. So I'll get into the Mike Davis chat now. I think you get a good sense of what I'm talking about for Matt Ryan. So again, I talked about his receiving ability, and you're going to see plenty of that. There we go. You're going to see plenty of that. There you see. Again, this is a screen. It's not a hard catch, but you like the move to get to the outside, to beat the man to the outside. There is what I liked to see. That's another view of that play. So 14:07. I'll go to next. This is supposed to be week 3. Of course. Hold on one second, guys. Sorry about this. There it is. So, yeah, here we go. Really, I like this move to the inside, and I might want to slow it down. So this sees that hole, that quick cut there. I really like, and then that other cut to beat that guy and go, and then get 25 yards out of that play. I'll show that one more time for that angle, because I just really like this inside run from him. There's a lot of times when he tries to cut things outside, but I think that's a really awesome run. And you'll see he's always looking for more yards. That's a big thing that I really like about Mike Davis. We'll go to 425. This is another receiving play. I think rather than just showing you a screen, this one's going to show you just his ability as a receiver. Just Brian Hill, that's somebody I wasn't thinking about. Thank you. Yeah, you'll be seeing a little bit versus Denver. Yeah. So that's, move on the run, and not only just catching it on the run, but also just immediately again, cut up field and try to get some extra yards when there's a defender right there. So, like, doesn't break stride at all. I really like that play from him. We'll go to week 4 now. 7:57 to go in I believe this is the first quarter. See the quickness to the outside and making a man miss. So yeah, nothing's there. He does this a lot. Sometimes it doesn't work out. I think sometimes he thinks he's faster than he is. But yeah, let me go back to this, because nothing is there up the middle, and this looks like, if I pause it here, you see the receiver here, or the defender to the outside here. Think, where can this go? Like, this is probably going to be nothing. But cuts it outside, gets around that guy, and almost scores. He did get the touchdown a little bit later. I'm not really going to show you much goal line, because honestly, everything I saw from him at the goal line when he scored, it was mostly blocking. I don't know that there was anything that he really did particularly well. He just, he got the carries and got into the end zone. But I wouldn't say, like, he's a hard runner, and you'll see it on other runs that I'll show you. But I don't know if there's anything special there. I mentioned that he likes contact. Doesn't go down easily. Runs over the linebacker. Takes 2 or 3 or 4 more guys to take him down. This is kind of similar to what I was talking about earlier, where when he catches the ball, he's not going down easy, looking for extra yards. So, like, right away, I think a lot of guys, when they catch this ball, like, they're probably going down. They're going to get hit from behind. They're going to go down. But right away, he makes this move, beats that guy. Like, that's an awesome play to me. And then one more, turning nothing into something. Another example, and then I'll get to the Week 14 that you were talking about, NBA. So, like, look at that. That should be stopped in the backfield. Turns into what? I think it was like an 18-yard run. Like, come on. That's nothing. And then there's another guy here. He probably overcommits, so that's probably on him. But then beats that guy, gets to the outside, shows some speed. So, he's a quick little guy. And he's tough. Still doesn't go down at the end of that play. So again, some things that I really, really like from him. I got a couple more from Week 14. I don't want to make this the Mike Davis show, but just a couple more from him. This will be receiving again. This is just an example of just, like, hard to bring him down. So it's not just running guys over. Oh, I went a little too far there. But it's making a guy miss, and then, hard to bring down at the end. And then I'll show you one more, just another yak play, which, I think you get the point, but just one more, because I think this is a really nice play. It's a cornerback, didn't really do a good job of tackling, but point is, I like a lot of what I saw from Mike Davis, and I think he's got a lot more upside than I might have thought. I think it's more than him just having the job. I think he could be really good. So, Carolina had one of the worst O-lines last year. That's why, yeah. So that's something I should bring up, that I think he will have more than that 3.9 yards per carry. Is Atlanta that much of an upgraded offensive line? Probably not, but I think Mike Davis, when given more of an opportunity, I think he's going to be really, really solid. So hopefully having guys like Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley on that team will open things up for him. Not like things weren't opened up by Robby Anderson and DJ Moore in Carolina, but that was more of a check down kind of offense. So, but we'll see. Point is, I do like Mike Davis this year. So, he's 29. Yeah, not a lot of tread on those tires, though, is the thing. And so maybe not a big guy that you want for like a dynasty league, but for 1 year. Falcons not really going anywhere. Just give the ball to Mike Davis. Why not? So next team I'm going to get to, speaking of Carolina, those Carolina Panthers. I'll go to, before I do this, I will, actually I had some notes down here. I don't even know. I was doing a little math down here. But I need to take myself away here for a second, just so you can actually see everything that's going on with this team. All the additions. I mean, there's not a ton of, like, high-impact offensive additions. You got, there are some big losses in terms of Mike Davis. Curtis Samuel's gone. Teddy Bridgewater's gone. You bring in Sam Darnold. So, again, you bring in the guard. You bring in A.J. Boye, Hassan Reddick, Dan Arnold at tight end. I don't know. We'll see at tight end with Carolina, but... and then, the draft, I put a lot of guys from their draft because I think there are a lot of names that are pretty important, because you got a lot of offense in this draft. After they went J.C. Horn, a lot of offense. Terrence Marshall, who, will fill in as the wide receiver 3, you would think, with Curtis Samuel gone. Mike Davis or Najee Harris. I think they're going to be close. I haven't done Pittsburgh yet, so I don't know that I'm ready to answer that question. Because Pittsburgh doesn't have a good offensive line either. I'm kind of leaning Harris, but that's a close one. So Uh, so I did project. This is something I talked about. So I'll bring this up for Atlanta really quick. I project Calvin Ridley with a 15 game season. So um, if he plays all 17, this is my way of working in a little bit of the injury risk with him. But if he plays 17 games, he absolutely can have more fantasy points. And I mean, not having more for him, he was incredible last year. So he could be incredible again and have around the same numbers. He played half a season without Julio. He actually was better at times without Julio, but I could see the argument for him getting a lot more attention from DBs. But I think it balances out because I think he'll get a ton of targets. So yeah, I end up being around, around close to what he was last year. What did he have? Let me yeah, so he was around 1374 last year. So I actually do have him a little bit less, but again, it's a 17-game season. If he plays one more, I have him for 15 games for my projection, so he could easily do better than what he does last year. So I have him at a pace to do what he did better than he did last year. So 100 catches, yeah, absolutely. I have him at 91 in 15 games. 100 catches is absolutely doable. I get that. So, but back to Carolina really quick. I was talking about their draft. So Brady Christensen comes in. Tommy Tremble, I don't know that he'll really do much for fantasy. And then Chuba Hubbard, there is a chance that's your handcuff for Christian McCaffrey. So no more Mike Davis. We'll have to see what happens with him in preseason and in training camp. But there is a chance that's a name that I just wanted to mention because that could be your handcuff if he has a good preseason. So now to get to, I don't know why that went down. I mentioned Christian McCaffrey. I think there's a good chance that he's going to be my number one. In 14, I project him for 14 games again. This is kind of my way of just plugging in some injury risk because I'll then look at total points. I'll also look at average points because what I do like to do I like to look at average points because total points doesn't tell the whole story, right? This is a weekly game. The weeks when you don't have if I project somebody for fewer points because I have them in fewer games, you're gonna have somebody filling in on those other games that he missed. So I like to look at average points. Usually when I'll kind of do a replacement level running back that you could fill in for those other games. So I'll kind of do like a value, like a total points with like replacement level, and I kind of eventually get to that point, and that's some other deeper things that I'll do when I'm really searching and or digging through and putting together my rankings. But Christian McCaffrey, even with a potential 14-game projection, I have him at 94 catches for about 800 yards, and I have him for rushing for 1,000 yards. Dude's a beast. I think we know that. Am I worried about a high ankle sprain and a shoulder injury? I'm not. I get that he could get banged up again. I projected him for 14 games. I worked in the injury risk, and I still think he's probably going to be the number one draft pick in fantasy drafts in 2021. At least in the ones that I'm in where I have a number one pick. Probably most other places too, I think. Who's giving him a run for his money at this point? Are you going to draft Alvin Cook over him? Alvin Kamara? Probably not. So, as far as who else is going around him, I'll bring this up now. Saquon, probably not. Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry. I could see if you just love Derrick Henry, especially in a standard league, if you want to say he's safer. I don't hate it. I mean, you see what he's done the last few years. It's great. In a PPR league, it's absolutely Christian McCaffrey. I don't even know if it's debatable whether it's Christian McCaffrey. If you want to say he could get hurt, okay. Previous two seasons, he played 16 games. Derrick Henry can get hurt. Anybody can get hurt. When he's playing, he's super, super safe because of the catches. He's done it with multiple quarterbacks. He's put up big catch numbers. I'm not worried about Sam Darnold going in there. He's not going to throw to him. Why wouldn't you throw to Christian McCaffrey? Give him the ball. So, speaking of Sam Darnold, I'll get to the film in a second. But Sam Darnold is not good. I have now projected 12 quarterbacks. Let me confirm this after I look at Tua. And, yeah. Sam Darnold's the worst quarterback I've projected so far. Whether it's injuries, he's missed some games the last few years, whether it's just going to be poor play, he's around a 60% completion guy. It's not good. What I've seen from Sam Darnold, last year I saw a lot of bad offensive line play. He rarely had time to throw. When he did have time to throw, he just wasn't accurate. And going from Teddy Bridgewater, who's completing about 70% of his passes, to Sam Darnold, who might complete a little more than 60. If you're hoping for 61, 62% completion percentage from Sam Darnold, it's hard to get too excited about this passing offense. So Sam Darnold is not somebody, even a 2-quarterback league, that I'm going to be recommending you're drafting as like a top 20 guy. I don't see the bounce, the post hype coming for Sam Darnold. He gives you a little bit with his legs. That's fine. A lot of guys these days are going to give you about 200 yards rushing with their legs. So even that, not that excited about what he gives you there. Sam Darnold, what you're hoping for, he throws to the guys that you're drafting in fantasy, which is Christian McCaffrey, which is DJ Moore, which is Robby Anderson, and that the offense doesn't just completely fall apart with him. But as you see, I have Sam Darnold for 16 passing touchdowns in 14 games. That is not good. Teddy Bridgewater also did not throw a lot of touchdowns last year. It's what held back DJ Moore and Robby Anderson to a certain extent. Also, not taking a lot of deep shots really held back Robby Anderson. But do I think Ridley is a top 5 wide receiver right now in terms of fantasy? Again, he's right there. I think I have Tyreek Hill above him. Devontae Adams, I don't know. I'm scared to death of Devontae Adams without Aaron Rodgers. I just have no idea what's going to happen there. But there's a case to be made for Devontae Adams. Stephon Diggs I will probably have above Ridley. Did I mention Tyreek Hill? Hopkins, I think then is where you start to look at it, and I'll probably have Hopkins, maybe, probably. But top 5 is the range. That's why I have him, I think, as a safety of 9, because I think he's like a safe top 10 guy with top 5, really top 1 upside. So, but yeah, the wide receivers for Carolina, I have DJ Moore in 16 games. I have him at 70 catches, about 1,100 yards, 5 touchdowns. Robby Anderson, I have about 74 catches, 1,000 yards. And for touchdowns, these two are interesting because the roles that we thought they would play last year really, really turned. It flipped. DJ Moore was the underneath guy, the do-everything type of player. And Robby Anderson was the deep threat. Last year, Robby Anderson had by far his highest or his lowest yards per catch. DJ Moore had his highest. I don't know what it was with Matt Rule, with Teddy Bridgewater, that DJ Moore suddenly became the downfield threat. Robby Anderson did a little bit of everything else. Sam Darnold took a lot of deep shots 2 years ago, as you'll see in a second, to Robby Anderson. I do expect them to go back to that. But DJ Moore showed that he can be a downfield threat as well. So Sam Darnold's going to take those shots. He's not going to hit on a lot of them. I do like Zacchaeus a lot. I do like Zacchaeus. I just don't know that with that offense with Russell Gage there. I think Zacchaeus has a shot. He's going to be watch list day 1 for me. And if the second he starts to go off, I'm putting waiver dollars on him. So, point is, I have DJ Moore. I will have DJ Moore a little bit higher than Robby Anderson. I think DJ Moore is probably going to come in around 15 to 20 to me, and Robby Anderson maybe 20 to 25. At this point, that's the way I'm seeing it. I'd love to have Robby Anderson higher. I think with the fact that he is that really good deep threat, um, I think he has a good amount of upside. I have an upside of 9 because I think, um, I think there were times last year, even with Teddy Bridgewater, where Robby Anderson showed he could be a borderline top 10 guy. Maybe that should be closer to like an 8. They're between an 8 and both of them really between an 8 and a 9. I think DJ Moore might have a little bit more upside. I think he's shown it more over the course of the last couple of years. But yeah, point is these are both fine wide receivers. They're both going to be about in the wide receiver 2 range. DJ Moore may be flirting with wide receiver 1, but the wide receiver is so stacked that it's going to be tough for me to get DJ Moore inside my top 15, but we'll see. Is it going to be at tight end? Is it going to be Dan Arnold? Is it going to be Ian Thomas? I don't know. I'm drafting either of them. And I should mention Terrace Marshall because I think he has, one of these guys go down, he's going to be very interesting. He's going to need an injury, I think. I don't know that there's going to be enough to go around with Christian McCaffrey back. I think when you look at what Curtis Samuel did last year, a lot of that was without Christian McCaffrey. They needed somebody to kind of get those underneath balls. If Christian McCaffrey plays 15, 16 games, there's not enough to go around in this offense to make to support 3 really good fantasy wide receivers and Christian McCaffrey. So we'll see what happens there. Again, McCaffrey, love him. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say there. I do really like Terrace Marshall long term though. A little bit do I worry that he could come on very quickly and be good and really take away from DJ Moore or Robby Anderson. There's a little bit in the back of my head there. It actually is why I throw around maybe making, and I'm just going to do it now, why I throw around making Robby Anderson more of an 8 of an upside instead of a 9. I'm even kind of there on DJ Moore, and why I think they're maybe not quite as safe as they might have been. I might have thought they were, midway through last year. I do really like Terrace Marshall. He's a rookie. We'll see how long it takes him to come around. I think by next year, depending on who they have at quarterback, that could be when you're thinking about Terrace Marshall for fantasy. Anyway, if you guys got any Carolina questions, I will certainly take them. I am going to get into my Sam Darnold / Robby Anderson film. I went back to 2019. That's what I wanted. I went back to 2019 to look at every attempt, Sam Darnold to Robby Anderson. And I'm going to show you some of my favorites, some of my least favorites. I'm going to take a sip of water because I've been talking a lot for the last 45 minutes. But again, appreciate you guys stopping in. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button, click that like button on this video. That'll help me a good amount. It takes 2 seconds to do. Would really appreciate you doing that. But now I will get into, I think this is just going to, beyond just showing you a ton of Robby Anderson, you might be thinking, why do I care this much about Robby Anderson? I'm going to show you as much as I am because Robby will outperform DJ again this year. So did he outperform him by the end of first half of the season? I think he did. I don't know that he did by the second half. So I'm going to show you what I like about this connection, what they did well. I'm going to show you what I didn't like. So we'll start with week 6, and it's a lot easier to find wide receiver stuff here. This doesn't want to load. Here we go. And how can you not love this? This is a great one to start with. You can see Robby Anderson at the bottom of your screen. They're not letting me fast forward right now. Or control the film. So I'd love to do that, and I'm probably going to have to refresh to get that happen. But perfect deep ball. You see the speed from Robby Anderson, and he's gone. 92-yard touchdown. So how can you not like that? So there wasn't a ton of that. Go to week 8. 29 seconds. And yeah, they're still not giving me the controls here. I'm probably going to have to refresh that. This one is at the bottom of the screen. It's always easy to find. Robby Anderson, he's tall and skinny. Right here, he gets called for an offensive pass interference with this. I don't know that I see it, but this is another nice throw and catch. Pushed a little bit at the end there, but regardless, you like the throw from Sam Darnold. And I'm going to refresh this really quick. And now they're giving me control. So we'll go to week 9, 10:30, 4:10. Okay. I think Robby's, yeah, bottom of the screen. This is a nice back shoulder. Like, that's the kind of stuff you want to see from Sam Darnold to Robby Anderson. Really, Sam Darnold to anybody in this offense. We're now going to go to week 11. And, you know, beyond that, this is what you really want to see. If we're drafting Robby Anderson, you're going to see him down here. We don't want to just rely on the deep balls. We want touchdowns. We want him to be targeted. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of another play. Well, I think I'll show you that one later. So, yeah, he's up here. Yeah, pretty wide open. Not the best, most amazing throw from Sam Darnold, but we want them looking for Robby Anderson in the end zone. We don't want to just rely on the deep balls from Robby Anderson. So Robby Anderson, I would agree with you. He does have more speed than DJ. So we're going to go to week 13. We're going to go to 7-11, which I want to get back to that in a second. I don't know if you happen to see that. I like the toughness here for Robby to catch this ball in traffic. Gets hit, hangs onto the ball. Nice play from him. 10:09 in week 13. Another one that I liked before we get into what I don't like. This is top of the screen. Another really good route and nice throw from Sam Darnold. Finds the window. Good timing. Here's what I want to show you. This is 2011. Or, no, I'm sorry. Not 2011. 2019. This is completely off topic. Look at that sign at the top of the screen. So this is week 13. I guess at this point, Cincinnati's pretty bad, and they think they're going to get Joe Burrow. But Mixon will Burrow. Just add O-line is what I believe that says. It's a really interesting sign in 2019 before they even draft Burrow for somebody that big to make a pro Mixon, pro offensive line, anti-Joe Burrow sign. I thought that, I'm watching and I was like, what did that say? I had to double check that. So one more here I really want to show you because I think this is another really nice play. Nice throw and catch. This is going to be well covered, but it doesn't end up mattering. I think he's at the bottom of the screen here. He is. Really nice ball. Gets his feet down, touchdown. Like, well covered. Love everything about that from both of them. Really nice throw, really nice catch. Now, here's the problem with Sam Darnold. A lot of things. I talked about it. He's inaccurate. We'll go to week 7. I'm not gonna spend all day showing you why I think Sam Darnold sucks. But I've seen a lot of Sam Darnold. Here comes the breakout. He got away from New York. Here it comes. This is a 4th down play where they decide to target Robby Anderson. I'll show you from right here. It's at the top of the screen, I think here. And he gets open. Comes across the field. Right around here. Just way off. Doesn't give him a chance. 619 in week 7. Like, there's so much potential from Robby Anderson here. You talked about his speed. He gets open. He gets open with the speed. But it's one thing for him to get open. It's one thing for Sam Darnold to actually hit him with these balls. And this is what I worry about. Like, not even close. Could have at least given him a chance. That ball, if you can't see it, lands 5 yards in front of him. We'll go to week 10. And there's a lot of this. I'm not showing you every single one. We'll get 2 back-to-back here. The speed is there from Robby. You are absolutely right. What's not there is the ball from Sam Darnold. He's down here. And that one's off. If you can get a better angle on this here. We'll go to, actually, we'll just go to week 13. A couple more here, and then I'll move on to New Orleans. Looks like he's right in the slot here. Really underthrown. Like, if you just lead him, he's got to stop and kind of try to dive at the ball. If you just lead him, just give him a little bit more. It's touchdown. There's way too much of this. So, I'll give you one more. Another one that should be a touchdown. And it's why I worry about the Carolina passing offense in general, because I don't think Sam Darnold is going to be very good with these deep balls. This one here, not even close. He's not good. And I don't think it's going to be good for Carolina. I think they're going to have another starting quarterback next year. So, DJ Moore catches with Teddy. I don't have that queued up right now. Again, I think you're going to have to trust me that from what I saw last year, there was a surprising amount of deep balls from Teddy Bridgewater. DJ was pretty darn good, especially in the second half. So that was a hard one to figure out all last season. But by the end, DJ Moore emerged. I have them pretty close in terms of my projections, but I give DJ Moore the slight edge over Robby Anderson. So we're going to move on now to New Orleans. Really not a lot of additions. And this was surprising. I really thought they might go after a wide receiver in the draft. They did not. Their draft was Peyton Turner and Pete Werner, which I didn't realize how close those names sounded until I really started saying them. Then they had Nick Vannett. You're not drafting Nick Vannett. So key losses, I mean, obviously, big one that we're going to talk about, Drew Brees. Emmanuel Sanders, I talked about him on the Buffalo show. Jared Cook is gone. They also lost some big names on defense. So why did Carolina choose Darnold over instead of Teddy? They must have seen something in him, because Teddy was accurate, but he didn't throw the ball downfield. Teddy's accurate because he didn't take a lot of shots. I can't tell you what they were thinking, but do I think Sam Darnold? Sure, maybe he can develop. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm not there every day. They are professionals. They see more than what I do. What I see is Sam Darnold, maybe better arm, will take shots downfield, but not accurate. He completes some of these deep balls. I showed you some good ones, but it's not consistent enough from what I saw. So, moving on to the Saints again. Key losses, not a lot in terms of additions. And when I look at the projections, I talked about it a little bit earlier. It's a little bit incomplete because we don't know who the starting quarterback is. How do I put this? I don't really care if it's Jameis Winston for fantasy. I don't think he's going to be very good. I think even if he gets the job, he's going to get benched at some point. I think even in the games he plays, I think there's going to be a lot of Taysom Hill. If Sean Payton didn't mind taking out his Hall of Fame quarterback a few plays a game and in the red zone for Taysom Hill, I don't think he's going to care too much about taking Jameis Winston out for plays throughout the game to put in Taysom Hill. He loves Taysom Hill. It sounds like Taysom Hill might not be the starting quarterback. For fantasy, if Taysom Hill does get the job, I think he's going to be interesting because of all the rushing. I made a Taysom Hill video when Drew Brees retired. You can check out my channel for that. I showed you a lot of Taysom Hill film in that one. I talked about how I don't think he has a very good deep ball. I think he's pretty accurate. He obviously has the legs, and I think he could easily run for double-digit touchdowns. I think he could lead. If he actually gets time to play, I think he could lead all quarterbacks in rushing touchdowns. But I don't know that he'll play well enough to keep the job all year because I don't think he's a great quarterback. So, yeah, I think there is something to say, just wrapping up the Darnold thing. I think there is definitely something to say that the Jets, didn't put a good team around them. Offensive line was brutal. Not a lot of great weapons. Obviously he had Robby Anderson for that season. So, if Jameis starts, you'd rather Jameis, Darnold, or Goff? Can I say none? I guess Jameis, because he'll at least play that hero ball. He'll take shots. Although, the little bit that he played with New Orleans, he didn't take one shot that I saw. I don't know if they were just really, really trying to keep him composed and not turn the ball over and not lose the game. He played, I think it was when Drew Brees went down for that game. I'll show you the film from that game actually that where he played. Jameis will at least take the shots downfield. He has actually been a top 10 fantasy quarterback before. I like his weapons probably more than Goff's. Goff has... what does Goff even have? Hawkinson? Rashad Perryman? I'm trying to think of who even... I'll get there, but Detroit's going to be bad. And I think Goff leaving the Rams is not going to be good for him. So, it's probably between... It's probably between Darnold and Jameis. And I'm leaning Jameis right now. But honestly, I think you better have other options because, like I said, I think Jameis it's gonna be tough. I think you're gonna be very frustrated if you start Jameis and you see Taysom Hill come out and get some of these touchdowns. And I think that's gonna happen. I think one of their best options in the red zone is the Taysom Hill keeper. And again, look at my YouTube channel. You can see the Taysom Hill video. I'll show you plenty of examples of when Taysom Hill was the offense. That was the whole plan. Taysom, take the ball, go, run. So, when he was a starter or not, when he came in for little plays here and there. So, having said all that, it's tough to do a projection for Michael Thomas without knowing what they're going to really pass for. But I mentioned it. They didn't really add anybody at wide receiver. I'm talking about Traquan Smith below him. What else really is there for the Saints? I can pull up the other guys really quick, but you have Deontay Harris. You got Marquez Callaway. Lil Jordan Humphrey. I guess it's Traquan Smith. And I guess Adam Troutman's going to be kind of relevant because... can every pass go to Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara? No. Kamara. It's Kamara. He said so. I watched this earlier today. Alvin Kamara. It's like Camaro but with the A instead of the O. He said Kamara. That's how he says it. So Alvin Kamara. That's how we're saying it. I say Kamara a lot. I can never get it right. I'm going Kamara. And I'll probably forget it. But I think Michael Thomas is going to get peppered, absolutely peppered with targets. 15-game projection. Again, I'm projecting in a little bit of injury risk here, which he has had in the past. I got him for almost 100 catches and 1,100 yards in 15 games. If he plays 17 games, over 100 catches, over 1,200 yards. But, again, I think from the receiving perspective, what I worry about with this team is Taysom Hill. Is he going to hog a lot of these touchdowns? I really do worry about that. I have Michael Thomas in for 6. I think he'll lead the team in receiving touchdowns. I think the offense could struggle to score without Drew Brees. So, as much as I think the catches and yards will be there for Michael Thomas, I don't know that you can count on much more than 6 or 7 touchdowns. If you're going to be taking a wide receiver in the top 5 to top 10, you got to think he has double-digit touchdown upside. I guess he could. I don't see it happening. I think Michael Thomas is probably going to be outside my top 10 of fantasy wide receivers. I think he'll be close to that. Again, I'll talk about rankings in a month or so. You're taking Darnold because Taysom coming in the red zone scares me. Yeah, that scares me too, and I'm really torn on that one. Again, I think not only that, but I think Darnold plays more games than Winston. I really do think even if he gets the starting job, he's not going to have it for too long. So I think Michael Thomas, again, I hate to say he's the only guy, and that's why you got to have him there, but he's the only guy. Alvin Kamara. I think you do not want Taysom Hill in at quarterback if you're drafting him. Again, the rushing touchdowns. I have him in for 9. He had like 15 last year. I think you have to be a little conservative with the touchdowns again. He had 6 in one game also. So in what was it, 14 or 15 games that he played? Take away the 6. I know you can take away anybody's best game and they don't have as good of a season, but he had a 6 touchdown game. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen again. I feel very confident that it's not going to happen again this year. So, still really good season though. I think he could easily rush for 1,000 yards. I think he could catch 70 balls for 600 yards. So total touchdowns, I have him at 12. So we'll see what happens there. I think he's definitely going to be more valuable in PPR leagues. I think one guy that even last year he was getting compared to that I took him over was Ezekiel Elliott, and he was coming off a bad year, and I still thought he's going to bounce back. But I think right now, again, I have upside of 10 for him, and I have safety of 8. Again, the rushing touchdowns scare the heck out of me. If I look at about 14 standard points and 18 PPR points per game, I look at Zeke, and I have him a little bit higher in standard and a little bit lower in PPR, and I think that's probably where I'll put them. If you wanted to take Kamara over Zeke in a standard league, I get it, because there is the chance that he does still get a lot of those rushing touchdowns, but for now I'm going to say he doesn't. So I'm going to say he gets under double-digit rushing touchdowns. Latavius Murray, Kamara goes down. It becomes interesting. Those rushing numbers being so close, take a look at last year. They actually were pretty close. He's still going to get a lot of work. He's not going to catch much, but you're going to wish he wasn't in there if you drafted Alvin Kamara. So I think he's somebody that maybe should be owned, probably should be owned if you're a Kamara owner. If you're not going to be playing Latavius Murray, but again, I have an upside of 7, and that just, I don't even know if 7 is really, that's probably a little bit high. And he's not safe at all, so they could go away from him at any point. Any given week he could have like 4 or 5 carries. You can't play him in fantasy when Kamara's active. So, and Adam Troutman, he's going to be a sleeper with tight end. Again, a third guy is going to have to catch balls here, you would think. If it's Troutman, if he could put together a decent season, he could be usable, towards the back end of your drafts. I think by the end of this draft prep process, when I start to think about who I might be targeting if I'm waiting at tight end, I think Troutman's probably going to be a guy, and I don't even really know that much about Troutman. I just know Jared Cook's gone. I know Emmanuel Sanders is gone, and I know they need to throw the ball to somebody else, so it could be him. And I'm not super confident in that. I have a safety of 5. I don't see anything safe about him, but he could be a name to remember as a sleeper tight end for this season. And really quick, I will show you a little bit of Jameis Winston with the Bucs. We didn't get to see a lot of this, so I'll start off with what I liked, which basically just showing you his completions. There's really not, I mean, what I will say that is interesting with this is it's a lot of like 3-step drop throw, quick passes, not a lot of hero ball from Jameis. Is that something Sean Payton really tried to make him do? I don't know. Was it just him, not fully being prepared to play that week, and they just said, all right, we're going to simplify things for you, because he came in, I think, in the middle of the game for a breeze. I don't know, but it was interesting. It wasn't, if you've seen a lot of Jameis Winston on the Bucs, it wasn't that. So I'm basically showing you like the best 3 completions that I can find. And that doesn't want to... Man, this site sucks sometimes. Alright. So now we will look at 321. Here we go. And if you're drafting Kamara, you want this. Because Taysom Hill did not do this a lot. By the end of his 4 starts, he was starting to throw the ball to Kamara more. But you want the screens. And you get the ball in his hands and just let him do it. So that's honestly, that's not like much of, I'm not showing you much that Jameis does well there. Basically just showing you that, this is what he needs to do. And if you're a Kamara owner, this is what you want to see. So again, really quick 3 plays that I liked that were not even all that impressive, but there's not much for me to go off of with Jameis on the Saints. So we got Michael Thomas, that little out route. Good timing route from him. Again, it's very quick. It's very quick from Jameis. He's in a shotgun. Gets it out really quickly to Michael Thomas. That's the kind of stuff you're probably going to see a lot. Those like 10-yard, 11-yard receptions. Is this the next one I wanted? This is it. This is another Kamara. I think this one's more of a timing route, not so much of a screen. Yeah, so that's a nice play. And again, that's what you want to see if you draft him. Now, this is rough. This, if he's gonna get chances, if it's not gonna be Taysom, you need better than this. I'll just say that. I don't even know if this is gonna be the best angle. Michael Thomas doesn't have a freaking prayer. Thomas again, like. If Michael Thomas is 15 feet tall, I don't know if he could have caught that. Maybe 15. But 12, no. Not even close. And actually, if you could see this other angle, he is open. He does this little cross. If you throw it like now, or you already threw it, but if you're actually throwing it lower, it's open. He's got it. It could be a touchdown. It should be a touchdown. And one more. This one's in the middle of the field to Michael Thomas again. So again, and that should be intercepted. Like not. And I'll show you another angle just to show that. Oh, here we go. That he was never open. So like, it never really looked good. Another guy coming in. Never should be thrown. Point is, if Jameis Winston wins the job, you saw the only 2 guys he's really throwing to, and what I worry about is he loses the job. a ball like he just threw there. Again, he probably didn't have a lot of time to prepare for this game. He was the backup. Maybe he wasn't well, he had time, but he maybe wasn't as prepared as he could have been. Next week, what's interesting to me is the very next week they go to Taysom Hill. They don't start Jameis. They go 4 straight Taysom starts. So why everyone thinks that it's a lock that Jameis is going to start now, I don't know. I don't know that I see that. Maybe it'll happen, but I don't know that he'll keep the job for long, and I think it could be a problem for the Saints offense. How many wins do I project the Saints? I didn't really do wins and losses at this point. But in a 17-game season, if you're talking about above 500, I mean, I think that might be the mark. I think 9 games, just above 500 might be what I'm looking at. So, just off the top of my head. But anyway, this is going to be real quick. Tampa Bay Bucks. Key losses, no one. Key additions, no one. Giovanni Bernard is not a key addition. Kyle Trask, Joe Tryon, sure. That was their first pick. Here's what I look at for the Bucks. Here's a big thing that I looked at. I looked at what did they do once they had Antonio Brown. And you have a 20-game sample size of Tom Brady working with Mike Evans and with Chris Godwin. So the question is, how much does Antonio Brown hurt the other two? Can Antonio Brown step up? He could. Tom Brady, I think really overall what I took away from all this is, depending on where Tom Brady's going, I'm probably going to want Tom Brady in fantasy drafts. If you're giving him Gronk and O.J. Howard and those wide receivers, in the 20-game sample size that we saw, and again, it was 20 because I'm including the playoffs, Brady was maybe not so great at the beginning of the season, but by the end, once he had Antonio Brown, man, this offense was tough to stop. We saw that they went to the Super Bowl. Tampa Bay should repeat Super Bowl champ. I mean, so here's the thing. So I don't know that I really have Ronald Jones over Fournette. I think points-wise, I have Ronald Fournette projected for 14 games, and I have Ronald Jones projected for 16. So I might put Fournette over Ronald Jones. I don't. Those two, I have no idea what to think about them. They're not going to be top 20 options. So in terms of running, yeah, down the yeah, it's a tough one. I think Fournette is used a little bit more in the passing game. Ronald Jones has his games where he takes over. But again, this is a 14 game versus 16 games. So if I give them both 16, Fournette is probably closer to 190 something. And Ronald Jones would then shift down a little bit. So I have them almost 50-50. But Bucks, yeah, so here's an interesting thing. Take Aaron Rodgers, put him on Denver. Who's the second best team or how many teams do you actually feel confident about in the NFC, I should say? Or even who's the second best team in the NFC? Is the Rams? Matthew Stafford, who's I don't think ever been to the playoffs. Is it Seattle? The defense really isn't what it used to be. Still don't have a really good offensive line. A lot of people like San Fran, but is it Dallas? Who is it? Because that's really what it comes down to for Tampa. They were not what they were. There's a reason they were in a wild card game. They were a very good team. They were not a great team until the very end of the year. They got it together by the end of the year. So, but that's the point of why you have to say, and you can't bet against Tom Brady. You just can't. So, repeat come out of the NFC. Yeah, definitely. I think they have to be the favorite. But it's crazy that I'm sure somebody will come out. Like Dallas and Washington's fine, but like, can you say like you feel good about Dallas or Washington challenging the Bucs for the NFC? So, anyway, I looked at the numbers with Antonio Brown, and I projected Antonio Brown for 14 games. You'll see this upside of 7 and safety of 3. It's tough to say upside of 7 when you're talking about somebody who was a number 1 fantasy wide receiver for multiple years. But with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, I think clearly above him, which I think they are. It worries me that his upside might not be super high, and he could go off the deep end at any point. His safety is a 3. He takes away from Chris Godwin a little bit, but I still think Chris Godwin could have an awesome season, especially in PPR. I think he is much closer to Mike Evans in PPR leagues. Standard, I think you're going to want Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans is, I talked about, who did I say was a borderline top 10 guy earlier? Michael Thomas. So standard leagues, I have him at about 10.5 fantasy points per game. And I have Michael Thomas lower than that. So, and it's because of the touchdowns. I think Mike Evans caught, 12 last year. There is a chance that 13 last year. There is a chance that Mike Evans leads the NFL in receiving touchdowns. And when you can do that, you have a, upside to be a top 5 guy. So I do think he has probably more upside than Chris Godwin. I do have them both as a 9. I think Chris Godwin's an awesome player. Chris Godwin maybe should be an 8 because I think Antonio Brown does limit him a little bit. But if Antonio Brown goes haywire and is gone, then Chris Godwin's back to being an awesome fantasy option. But there was a time with Jameis Winston when these were both top 10 guys, and it's just not the case now. So I think they're both top 20 guys. I think I have Mike Evans higher in standard. Chris Godwin will be very, very close to him in PPR, but they'll both have really solid seasons. Tom Brady will probably be a top 6 or 7 option for me. The more I look at it. I think the one actually that I'm going to be torn on is Dak Prescott. And I actually think I might take Tom Brady over Dak Prescott. I got to look at that a little bit closer. I know Dak was awesome in those games that he played last year, but the defense was historically bad during that time. And I just think you just can't bet against Tom Brady. So at this point, I think Tom Brady is just super safe, and I think he's going to definitely be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. So that is where I'm at with the Bucs. Fournette and Jones, you mentioned Gronk. He's a touchdown reliant tight end. He probably won't. I could absolutely see OJ Howard catching, having more receiving yards, but I don't know about fantasy points because I just think Gronk is just shown to be such a guy that Brady looks for in the end zone. Super Bowl, he had 2 touchdowns. So it's something that's a connection they still clearly have. But if Gronk goes down, OJ Howard could be solid. So Fournette and Jones, they're probably gonna be outside my top 20. Ronald Jones is somebody who has burned me way too many times for me to trust him too much. It's every time I think this is the time when Ronald Jones starts to go off. You think definitely Rodgers goes back to Green Bay? I don't know about that. I'm doubting it at this point. So Fournette, I think there's a very, very good chance that he catches a lot more balls than Ronald Jones. So in PPR leagues, I'm definitely gonna have Ronald Jones or Fournette over Jones. In standard, it's very close. Might lean Fournette. Fournette was also getting a good amount of work in the Super Bowl or in the playoffs as well. So if what happened there continues, I think I am going to lean Fournette over Jones just a little bit. But, they're not safe whatsoever. At any given moment, they could go back to the other guy. If you wanted to tell me that neither of them are top 30 running backs because they're too unpredictable, there's other guys with more upside that have better situations, I could buy that. I could certainly buy that. You'd rather take a shot at some of these other guys versus somebody who is going to be a tough to trust start every week. And then who knows what happens with Gio Bernard if he gets into the passing game more. So yeah, I'm not going to be, I don't think, too high on either of those guys. And Dak has to throw more than Brady, so it's going to be close. Brady's draft capital is just so delicious. Yeah, I might just go with the guy who's going later. So, but I think Dak is probably going to go above Brady. Let me pull that up really quick. But that's about all I have for my NFC. I'm not going to show any film because I might eventually get into some Antonio Brown just to get a better sense of what he looked like. But I thought at times he looked very, very good. I thought he looked at times maybe not vintage Antonio Brown, but close to it. There were times when he just seemed to have lost a step. So at quarterback right now, it looks like Dak Prescott is about 5th and Tom Brady is about 9th. Maybe I'm just gonna be low on Dak. Maybe I am gonna be low on Dak. So they have Aaron Rodgers 7th right now because there is the very, very, very small chance that he doesn't even play. But where will Rodgers play? We'll see. But anyway, that does it for this one. Appreciate you stopping in. I saw some other people popping in too. Kiwi was in here earlier. Appreciate your questions, Kiwi. I made it in just an hour and a half. Look at me go. So again, if you're not already subscribed, if you like this video, comment, click that like button. We'll do AFC South. We got talk about quarterbacks. We got Ravens, Lamar Jackson. We got Baker. I did a Baker video. You should check that out too on my channel. We got Joe Burrow. We got Ben. We got AFC. Or no, we're talking AFC South. We're not doing North yet. I just completely screwed that up. Pretend none of that was ever said. AFC South. We're going Jags. We're going Titans. We're going Texans. Ugh. And we are going another team that is escaping me at this point. The Indianapolis Colts and my boy Carson Wentz. So that'll be interesting. Maybe not as many great fantasy quarterbacks as I thought, especially if Deshaun Watson isn't playing. That is a tough one to project. I probably will not even project Deshaun Watson, but we'll get into that. So I'll dig through the numbers. I will dig through the film. Maybe I'll show you some... I might show you some Michael Pittman for the Colts. Well, I don't like him. The Jags, I've done a good amount of James Robinson. I can maybe pull up some film from that, but I have a James Robinson video. We'll also check out, I don't know who I might even like on the Texans, but again, we'll get into all that next Thursday night. So appreciate everybody stopping by, subscribe, click like, all that fun stuff. I am also on Twitch at Mr. Zach T. I do more gaming stuff there, but I also talk football. I will be doing other videos for YouTube that aren't live streams. So make sure you're subscribing so you can catch all of that. Thanks to everybody who stopped by. See you next time.